Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to the Everything Ollies podcast. Today we're going to do our first goals? Episode. Number 1, it's going to be called 16 Things with Trev and Autumn. We're just going to go through, and I formed a list of, 16 things that I wanted to know from her perspective about me, and then I'm sure they will be interesting coming from me about her as well. So we're just going to get this started off. Okay.
So do I get to ask you first, or are you asking me first? I think I should get to ask you first since my question kind of spawned the list.
So the first question was something that she said earlier today, and then she mentioned it to me, and I was like, well, we should record this, and then we got busy and we were never able to. So I kind of wrote this entire piece around this whole segment around just that first question. All right, go ahead.
So, repeated from earlier, and I'm not really sure what spawned it earlier. I'm sure it was something out of my own self-consciousness that made me ask you. But what is the grossest thing about me, in your opinion?
The grossest thing about you? I have to say I know exactly what it is. So, because you have long fingernails, sometimes, you just can't, you're, as women, or guys, I don't know, whoever has long fingernails, you just can't help but, to accumulate stuff underneath your fingernails. And so, sometimes when you haven't had them painted and when I can clearly see under them, and you haven't, dug at them or dug them out, that grosses me out.
I get that. It grosses me out, too. You'll see me constantly finding things like credit cards or clothing tags, anything I can find to clean out from under them because, yeah, I definitely don't enjoy seeing the buildup of things that I just touch all day. It reminds me, how gross everything we touch is. But then again, it's kind of a good reminder.
Definitely.
What's
the grossest thing about me?
That's kind of hard because... I love you, but I hate that you smoke cigarettes.
I know, yeah.
And, so I feel like I can't even give that answer.
Terrible habit.
Yeah, and your other one's kind of really tied into it, which is spitting.
Yeah, I have a bad habit of doing that as well.
Which our sons have picked up.
Anytime I have a bad taste in my mouth, I just always feel the need to, just get it out. Just get it out
It's the sound that your spit makes whenever it hits whatever it comes into contact with that really gets me every time.
Definitely understandable.
Yeah.
So, I am going to tell you, this is the next question, but I'm going to ask you the question. Or what do you think? You know what? Actually, I'm going to ask you this first. What do you think I think is the weirdest thing about you?
What do I think you think is the weirdest thing about me? Mm-hmm. That one's kind of an easy one for me, I think. I think that you think the weirdest thing about me probably is my inability to not turn the opposite direction which way I've ever turned because I feel wound up.
Fair enough.
I would assume that that's what it is.
Yeah, that is, that is definitely the weirdest thing.
Is that not what you had in mind originally?
I was just really thinking, your obsession with heating pads and how, you will, I swear, I can't tell you guys how much she loves heating pads.
Well, it spawned from back pain, and that's really where it comes into play mostly at the beginning of every day, and then it morphs into I'm cold, and this keeps me from being cold at night,
Yeah. So what's the weirdest thing about me?
That's so hard. You're just kind of an off-the-wall type weird person in general.
Okay. I like where this is going. Okay.
I think I'm going to go with most embarrassing weird thing you do because everything you do is weird and I love most of it. So I'm going to go with the one kind of embarrassing thing that I think is weird. And that's when you choose to embarrass me in public. Mm-hmm. You have immunity to shame and I'm jealous. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's really, really funny. Sometimes my shame is just overcome by how funny it is in general. And other times I'm like, oh my God, I want to find a hole.
I want to find a hole.
For sure. But I enjoy all of your levels of weirdness in one way or another.
And I can appreciate that. I deserve that, because sometimes I have been known to like just go over the tippity top.
Yeah.
With the embarrassment. I am fearless when it comes to any public setting for the most part. Or I can turn it off. I can just turn that fear right off.
Right. When you choose that comedy is more important at the moment. Yeah. I hate it when you surprise me with it.
Yeah, definitely. The worst thing about you is your lack of filter in certain settings. You don't want to be a customer service agent and get on the phone with my wife. You don't want that.
You don't want to be a rude or bad at your job customer service representative and
Agreed.
Get on the phone with me.
Really, anyone.
I'm
like, depending on what mood you're
in general, and especially to people in the service industry, because I feel like most people in general are rude to you from the get-go. I feel like if I approach the situation with grace and try to be nice, and if at the end I'm still asking to talk to your supervisor, we have hit a wrong turn somewhere. You know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you are ruthless when it comes to CSRs, and yeah, for sure she will get the job done, though. I will say that if you ever need, give us a holler if you ever need someone to just be an absolute just asshole, but get the job done, get what you need done out of someone. She would be happy to oblige.
I'm a necessary evil, I suppose.
For sure. But it's great. It's great when it's convenient for me, and then, you know, obviously when it's not, it's just a little bit of ammunition in those little fights. And I'm like, well, you're just a dick to everybody. So
I think the worst thing about you would be your attention span, your ability to be in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You go on autopilot a lot.
Definitely.
And it's really hard to get you out of it sometimes.
That's actually a really big point of this podcast, is for us to communicate more. We plan on, you know, including our children in segments, and just really just involving this whole, our whole family, our whole unit as, you know, a part of this really cool adventure, this journey that we want you guys to, you know, for sure be a part of as well.
Yeah, I think the autopilot, and like, even when you, even when you try to come out of it, or pretend to try to come out of it, when your responses are disingenuous, it's so obvious, even to our young kids. They can tell you're not there. They're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And it's hard because I'll focus on something and just really obsess over just specific things so much that my attention is just not distributed evenly, or well, for that matter, you know, toward my wife and my children, and that's a huge problem. I agree with that.
But you're definitely working on it. But I would say that you're a prime example of somebody that you can be in the same room with, yet they are a million miles away.
Yeah, for sure.
Moving on down the list.
I'm gonna take this one. Okay. The best thing about you is, honestly, I would say the absolute best thing about you is your seemingly, and for the most part, very proven unconditional love for me. And for our children as well, but I mean, just for me as an adult, like a person that you don't have to, that you're not contractually obligated. Well, I mean, technically you are, but that you're not, you know, just completely set in stone, biologically obligated to love or like me or tolerate me, for that matter. I can be overwhelming. I can be sometimes pompous and obnoxious, and I don't mean to be, and I do just the weirdest shit that you've ever seen or heard of in your entire life. And she puts up with all of it. It's really great. It's fucking phenomenal, really, honestly.
No, I think the best thing about you is that you approach everything with a almost opposite attitude that I do, in the sense that I approach something with the, what's going to go wrong here? what can go wrong here attitude from the get-go, and you approach things with the this is going to be okay attitude in everything in life. And by that one simple act, repeated over and over and over, you bring happiness into my life. You bring a very socially awkward and very depressive, I want to say hermit. It's like tendencies sometimes that I tend to have.
Yeah. Fair enough.
You help me get out of that funk a lot of times. And because you have that glee in your heart, honestly, just like most of the time you are just a genuinely happy person, it rubs off on our kids and everyone around you. It's hard to be in a bad mood around you. And it's one of the things I actually kind of hate is even when I'm mad at you, I can't stay mad at you for very long. I can't.
Well, I mean, because I'm often the type of person that, I bounce back really quickly. So even if I'm the one that's mad at you, and what my wife likes to do, what Autumn Rooney, we'll work on it, likes to do is get mad at me for things, or actually I'll get mad at her for something, and then she'll get mad at me for getting mad at her. So the best way to just break her out of that is to just kind of toss up a little white flag in the form of a bowl of marijuana, or B, to just crack a joke that will undeniably get a laugh from her. And then I know that we're fine. We're fine for the moment. She may remember that she's mad at me in 5 minutes, but then she'll feel stupid for getting mad at me again, and she'll suppress it. So we're fine.
This is very true. Well, I feel like over the years, our relationship has progressed because at the beginning, you were very much I want you to apologize for absolutely every single thing you ever say and do that hurts my feelings, which is a very, understandable viewpoint. Whereas I grew up in a home and in a setting where if you're mad at each other, but then you move on, you start talking about something else after you've had your fight, your yelling, your silent time usually, then you talk about something else. That was always my way of acknowledging, and in my home, the way that it was acknowledged that the fight had stopped. We were all on peaceful terms again, and to just move on and pretend like it hadn't happened.
Right.
And so learning to apologize in general was something that has definitely progressed on my side in our relationship. And on your side, you have not needed so much, individual apologies. You've started doing kind of the same thing like you just said, where you're like, I crack a joke and we know it's okay to just move on, so I think that you definitely helped me learn to apologize when I need to apologize, and you've learned that not always I'm sorry, the words are always necessary to end a fight and move on and be okay. For sure.
I like that.
All right, what's the next one on the list?
I like that. So next up, we have, what is my most memorable thing? I mean, what is the most memorable thing regarding me to you? That would
like
be
a memory that you're most prominent in?
Yeah, say I died right now.
Oh,
I'm dead.
That would be so
I'm just
hard.
fucking dead, dude.
Oh, shut up. Well, there's so many, little moments, but if I had to, pick one huge moment, I don't really know that I could, because, gosh, I know it sounds so cheesy, but it really is the little moments in our life together that add up to what I love about you and why you are the person that you are to me. But you seeing Taking Back Sunday front row and getting to be at that show was incredible. Seeing how excited you were.
Okay.
But also, I feel like in Mayday Parade, I feel like it was Mayday Parade that you cried at, wasn't it?
Yeah, I did.
So.
I teared up in Mayday.
And that moment, I saw your face. You were just smiling and had this one tear, and it was so beautiful. And I loved so much that I got to be with you in that moment. I loved that.
That's awesome.
What about with you?
I would say my most memorable moment with you would have to be... It would have to be like a cluster of moments. And it would be the out of two events, obviously, just like you. It would either be all of these conversations and these like just heart-to-heart philosophical talks that we would have on my mother's porch on a yellow couch.
At the very beginning of
our relationship. Or it would be us sleeping in Dallas overnight and waiting for Mayday.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the first time that we were like, we're going to be so far up these guys' asses.
I think it's really cool that both of our most memorable things about each other not only are the same thing, but the concert tickets to Mayday Parade at the House of Blues Dallas, the paper tickets themselves were our first year anniversary wedding gift to each other because it was paper. Yeah,
they were. That was really cool. Just the whole gig was, for everyone, and that's for those who don't know, and that includes every one of you. When we went to the show, and this is a true story, we got there, we waited overnight, we sat in line all day long, and then all of a sudden, I'm going to say an hour and a half, 2 hours before the show starts, this woman comes out of the building.
It definitely wasn't that long before the show starts because I did not have that long to prepare. It was
she comes out of the building and she's like, I have 2 extra VIP tickets. Someone bailed, or these people bailed on us. And
I lost my mind. I was like, I want them. You can have every bit of money I have on me.
And we were just yelling anniversary. Like, we were just yelling anniversary at people. And then, people were, like, pointing at us. People that knew that we were there for that reason were, like, pointing at us and, like, these guys are a great option for this. And so, so she gave us these tickets and we got to meet Mayday Parade. It was great. It was fucking incredible. She wouldn't even take our money. Yeah. She was just like, no, just have a great time. And we were like, fuck yes, this is incredible. This is phenomenal. So it was a great show. It was just one of the sickest shows just that I've ever been to.
Well, they're my favorite band, and they were touring my up to current date favorite album.
And the energy was just
a once in a lifetime experience for sure.
Absolutely. 100%.
I'm actually kind of surprised that one of your favorite memories of me wasn't meeting Jared Leto. I'm surprised that that's not what you said.
Well, I actually, it's been so current. That's been so recent that I forgot that it happened. I would say as far as it's the most memorable moment that I would have with you would definitely be that one. I have to recant my whole statement. It'd be that moment whenever you went up on stage and you spoke with Jared Leto. And that was just because for a moment you could see it was just you and him, but then what was crazy and what really warmed me up a whole lot and just made me feel really kind of fucking special was that, while you're on stage, you were looking at me to see, and you were happy to see that I was happy to see you. Yeah. For a single split second, you were on the stage with Jared Leto, but it didn't matter for just a split second. You know what I mean? It was just the happiness that was existing between the two of us. And that was a really cool moment for me. I felt like it was just really cool to see you that happy, and then for you to see me see you that happy and be as happy as I was just I don't know, it was just a really fucking cool moment. Yeah,
it really was. I definitely think that the looks that you and I shared on stage were definitely part of the best moments of being there. Just being able to share something that I never thought would actually happen.
Yeah.
If man, if speaking about things that I want to happen so much as I talked about meeting him are going to happen, I need to start talking about this $1 billion jackpot a lot more. Man.
So, all right. What is the first band that comes to your mind when you think of my name?
Taking Back Sunday. That's so easy.
Taking Back Sunday was my favorite band from 2005 to about earlier this year, earlier last year, yeah. Still love the guys. I think they're doing some cool stuff. I'm a much larger fan of their early work, and that it'll always be the influence that it was on my life. Yeah, fucking love those guys.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's not who you have a tattoo of, which would be Dallas Green, City and Color.
Hold on. And continue. Hold on. Okay.
So it's kind of interesting that the tattoo of a band or in homage of a band that I see daily isn't the one that instantly pops in my head, but it's not. It's definitely Taking Back Sunday because